How do you know that your personality Enneagram type is a 1? It can be really confusing. I'm going to share with you 5 ways that I help my clients and help my coaches who work with the Enneagram almost every day to really put a bow on it and help someone to realize if they are indeed a 1 on the Enneagram or not. I'm going to share with you these 5 little sound bites. Each one is designed to help you to really determine whether you are in fact a 1 on the Enneagram or not, and think of them as layering upon each. So we start with what I call the skew painting conversation or soundbite. Then I'm going to share with you my red pearl understanding of the reasons for a 1 on the Enneagram doing what they do, which is a key distinguisher. Then we stack onto that the polarity of 1. We double check that we're not getting confused between one of the other practical harmonics, because there are 2 other types that share a lot of common ground with 1 on the Enneagram. And finally, we'll put a bow on it by looking at how a 1 grows by accessing 7. And if you don't relate to that as well as everything else, you should look at another type. If you are strongly relating and it just feels like it's deepening a sense of resonance that you go, yes, this is really starting to sound like me, then hopefully this video will help you to gain some confidence in knowing your Enneagram. But Cole, can't I just use an Enneagram test, you might ask, so that I can figure out my type quickly, or at least confirm or validate the type that I think I am? In my opinion, in my extensive experience, all tests should be looked at as clue gathering devices and not definitive. Most of them are really not as accurate as I think they claim to often be. Even the test that I have made to help people to narrow down their type, the big disclaimer is that this is clue gathering. I really believe it helps to learn enough, because after all, you know you, and there are so many variables involved with the Enneagram. There's the level of growth of each type. You know, a sapling apple tree looks very different to a fully fledged flowering apple tree, to the winter version of an apple tree. And our Enneagram, like everything in nature, expresses with these subtle variations. If you're going through a really tough patch, you'll do a test that might reveal a different type to when you're fully in your strength. And the more we claim our wholeness, the more we wake up to the deeper true self, which is deeper than even the Enneagram, so you are always more than your personality, the more that starts to shine through the personality, which can make it really difficult to discover your type. So if you or a friend or a loved one, a colleague, or perhaps a client, if you work with the Enneagram, if you're a coach or a mentor, are wondering, am I a 1 on the Enneagram? If it's on the table as a possibility, here is the first soundbite that I will use in a conversation to really get a sense of whether someone is a 1 or not. And here's the question I ask. If there is a skew painting on the wall, how does your body respond? Now, sure, many of us might say, I'd prefer it straight, or I don't like it being skew. But what I listen for, and what I want you to listen for inside of yourself, if you suspect you might be a 1 on the Enneagram, is if your body, your felt sense in your body responded with, it cannot be skew. Like as if your cells want to make it straight. And I'm also listening for frustration, irritation, a kind of pre-verbal grr, like Now, what I've heard from ones over the years, true ones on the Enneagram, is that it's everything from sort of this contained, managed, I want to straighten it, but it doesn't seem appropriate because I'm in someone else's house, to I will straighten it immediately, to it just cannot be skew. And this tone, it's not a mind type, blue, what I call a blue pearl, essay, analysis, preference for harmony, for peace. It's not a heart type. I want the picture to be straight because it's embarrassing if it's skew, and I like things ordered and to appear beautiful because my home is a reflection of my image, or I like things just so they have to look good. It's slightly different to the whole body feeling wired to the wrongness of the skew painting. How did that land? Let's layer on some more now. An important key to really understanding the Enneagram and avoiding mistyping is to realize that the Enneagram is not based on what we do, but is based on why we do what we do, the reason. And the reason sits like a grain of sand in a pearl. It's the reason an oyster coats that grain of sand with layer upon layer until it becomes a beautiful pearl. So that's my metaphor for understanding each type. The red pearls, of which one on the Enneagram is one of the 3 red pearls, therefore shares a red pearl reason for behavior. And if you look at this, it'll help you to really get a sense of whether you are a 1 on the Enneagram. The keywords that I use, the 4 keywords to describe and articulate what I mean by a red pearl, is a combination of gut plus anger plus resistance plus impact. Gut doesn't mean intuition. It means the felt sense of the body as a center of intelligence, as a driver. So what you have is that skew painting, back to the skew painting, yes. It's a gut response. It's a reflex that is felt in the body that results in some expression of anger. Now, a lot of folks call 1, 8, and 9 anger types. And I think this can throw people off because not all of us really live in permanent anger, right? So think of anger as a continuum from low volume to high volume, and connect anger to the gut. So this is not anger from the mind. It is not anger from the heart, because we can all feel angry, but this is anger from the gut, which means it's a felt sense of grr. Low volume would just be irritation, frustration. High volume could become rage. Now you'll see how we add this to the polarity in a moment, because that determines how a 1 in particular expresses this. But for now, that skew painting, it lands in the gut. It triggers, at the very least, frustration that is felt in the body, and we add to that the word resistance. This is felt resistance. Again, not mind resistance, not heart resistance. It's pre-verbal, and unless you're a red pearl, it can be very difficult to understand exactly what is meant by this. You imagine if a doctor hits your knee in a certain way and triggers a reflex, your foot will kick out. That's a reflex, and this resistance to the skew painting as a metaphor is just this, no, it can't be that way. And yes, the mind can step in to analyze, perhaps to justify the logic of it, but it is first and foremost the driver, the primary motivator is gut, low volume anger or high volume, and resistance. And we must add the word impact. There is in the red poles this scanning from the body for being impacted and for how we are impacting the world. So add that to your understanding and see what you resonate with. And now we must add the all-important polarity. And you'll see how these are important, that they are stacked on top of each other. Because the polarity is how we cope with and how we express our pearl. So our 1 on the Enneagram is coping with and expressing their red pearl through the polarity of good, not bad. So a polarity is where we are designed by default to resist and push against and pull towards, like a pendulum that swings. Our personality is working with two opposite qualities that it is moving against and towards. And there are a number of these, but focusing on the primary polarity, what I call the primary polarity for the 1 on the Enneagram, which I've discovered over many years is amongst the more reliable, is good and bad. So what you do is you put this together with the pearl now so that you understand, because if we look at it in isolation, if we only look at good and bad, many of us would put our hands up for it. And when we look at only behavior, the behavior of 1s on the Enneagram also many of us would do. 1s aren't the only ones who like to tidy up and keep things orderly. What we look at is why. And when we understand the why, which is a combination of the pearl and the polarity, we've understood the type. So the 1 on the Enneagram, good and bad, is wired to the gut. This is a gut feeling of good and bad, not a reasoning from the mind and not a longing or desire from the heart. The whole body feels the skew painting as wrong, as bad, as not perfect. And this good and bad will trigger anger. Any quality in the self that is experienced as less than good can create resistance and trigger some kind of sense of irritation, which is why our 1s on the Enneagram are such harsh critics of themselves. The inner critic is extremely harsh until it's not, until 1 gives themselves permission to be gentler. Because I am good, not bad. There is a right way to pack a dishwasher. That's a kind of internal joke with my students. And our 1 on the Enneagram feels very impacted by bad. Now, all of us do. All of us are sensitive. All of us have, if we are healthy and mentally well, we have a conscience. So that when somebody breaks moral law, when they, using an old Sanskrit word, dharma, when they break dharma, when something moves against how life looks after life, there's an intuition, there's a sense of this not being okay. We have a conscience for that reason. For our 1s on the Enneagram, the design of the 1, the function and the way 1s contribute to life is that they are hyper-wired to breaches in Dharma. So that skew painting, back to the skew painting, is not just a skew painting. It's a sense of something is wrong, something is off. And that's why our 1s are always endlessly looking for the rules, looking for how to be correct, trying to fix, trying to improve. They're strict on themselves and others. They have high ideals. There is this hyper responsibility, sometimes doing the job of many, many people. They've got very high standards. There's this sense of righteousness and righteous anger. They want a sense of structure. They want to know how to be perfect. How is that landing for you? And finally, check how you relate to the growth path of 1 on the Enneagram. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail here. Just simply this. Every type on the Enneagram, I believe, has a doorway to another type a connection point like an electric circuit board. And when the type is at its lowest expression, it struggles to access that point. And that point stabilizes it, balances it, gives it something that it needs to be more whole. So our 1 on the Enneagram, when it's at a low expression, cannot access 7 in itself. When it's at a high expression, when it's claiming its wholeness, when it's shining with a deeper sense of truth, it can access 7. Now, I'm going to give you a few keywords here just to understand what that can look like. So a very low expression, a lack of 7 in the 1, is a lack of everything that 7 represents at the highest, which is simply playfulness, laughter, the spirit of the child in us. Our 1s at their lowest expression may have lost that, may have lost the ability to relax, to be silly, to play, to let go. And their growth path is literally to learn to open that door again. And you can almost tell how that would soften things. They still might want to fix the painting on the wall and make it straight. And we need that in the world. We need that 1 energy to bring rightness and order and moral. But we want that rightness to be tempered by the gentleness of being able to laugh at oneself, the ability to love even your flaws, and to love the humanness that you are, the good, the bad, and the ugly of that. So this is why our 1s struggle to relax, struggle to really play until they don't. And when they open that door to 7, our 1s become gentler. They're able to color outside the lines. They're able to put down productivity, and they're able to truly relax. One of the many contributions that the great Enneagram teachers Riso and Hudson made to the world of the Enneagram was the understanding of harmonics. I've taken this understanding and I've distilled it and simplified it and used slightly different words. Let's look at how 1 on the Enneagram can be confused with other practical harmonics. There is 1 Enneagram type per pearl that is considered to have a shared harmonic that is often called a competency harmonic. But for the sake of alliteration, which is kind of an inside joke around that I endlessly will find any excuse to throw in some alliteration, I've named the harmonics practical, positive, and purge. So the practical harmonics are 1, 3, and 5. Those are the 3 Enneagram types that share a common harmonic. And what this means, and see if you relate to this, the first thing a practical harmonic needs when establishing a connection to another person, so this is particularly important in teams and in relationships, is they want something practical, pragmatic, move the dial, solve the problem. So there is a sense of bonding, there's a sense of connecting through rolling up sleeves, getting things done, doing the work. So conversations that are about that type of tone or that kind of focus, 1, 3, and 5 share as a harmonic. They share this need. It's a way of bonding. Whereas the positivity harmonic wants to bond through affirming, validating, positive connections. The purging harmonic wants to bond and connect through a moment of venting, either venting as a red pearl, a blue pearl, or a green pearl. So check how you relate to this harmonic. I hope this is helpful. If you or someone that you know could benefit from checking if they are a 1 on the Enneagram, you know what to do. Like, forward, and all those good things.